Focusing on self-development can have a profound effect on every aspect of life. When you direct your energy inward, making a conscious decision to grow as a person, you begin to uncover clarity that once seemed elusive. In a world where distractions are constant and external pressures are high, turning the focus inward becomes not only powerful but necessary. Self-development isn't just about reading books or setting goals. It's about making intentional changes in how you think, react, and move through life. It involves examining your habits, beliefs, and choices, then taking deliberate steps to align them with the kind of person you want to become. This internal work helps strip away confusion and brings into focus what truly matters. When you focus on your own growth, you begin to understand yourself on a deeper level. You learn what drives you, what drains you, and what truly fulfills you. Instead of being pulled in 1,000 directions by what others expect or suggest, you begin to develop a stronger sense of direction rooted in your own values. This alignment is the foundation of clarity. It simplifies decisions, reduces stress, and helps you navigate life with a sense of purpose. The more you invest in understanding yourself, the less you feel the need to compare or seek approval from others. You stop looking outside for answers and start trusting your own judgment. This shift not only brings peace but also confidence in your ability to handle life's challenges. Clarity through self-development also helps filter out noise. Whether it's the opinions of others, societal standards, or past conditioning, we often carry mental clutter that clouds our decisions. When you commit to personal growth, you start identifying and letting go of these influences. You become more discerning about what you allow into your mind and what you give your time and energy to. This mental decluttering creates space for genuine insight to emerge. You begin to see what's truly important and let go of distractions that don't serve your vision. In the process of working on yourself, you naturally become more grounded. You're no longer reacting impulsively to situations or people. Instead, you respond with intention and awareness. This stability brings a clearer perspective, allowing you to make better choices without being swayed by temporary emotions or external drama. You gain emotional intelligence, learning how to manage stress, handle conflict, and communicate more effectively. These skills sharpen your understanding of others and improve your relationships, which further supports a clear, purposeful life path. Another benefit of focusing on self-development is that it shifts your mindset from scarcity to abundance. Rather than seeing life as something happening to you, you begin to see it as something you can shape. You stop fixating on what you lack and start appreciating what you're building. This perspective shift is essential to clarity because it keeps you forward, thinking and solution-oriented. You stop getting stuck in loops of self-doubt or fear, and instead you focus on what you can do to grow and improve. That proactive mindset becomes a compass, pointing you toward actions that align with your goals. Clarity also comes from consistency. Self-development isn't a one-time act, it's a daily practice. Small efforts, like journaling, reflecting, setting intentions, or learning something new, compound over time. As you continue investing in yourself, your thoughts become clearer, your habits more refined, and your path more defined. You begin to see patterns, what works, what doesn't, and what needs adjusting. This awareness fuels smarter decisions, saving you time, energy, and emotional turmoil. In time, the benefits of focusing on yourself radiate outward. People notice your growth, your calm, your direction. You inspire others not because you're trying to impress them, but because you've done the quiet, disciplined work within. Your life starts to align in ways that feel natural rather than forced. Opportunities come more easily, not by chance, but because you're in a better position to recognize and seize them. Problems become less overwhelming because you trust yourself to handle them. Ultimately, when you commit to self-development, clarity becomes a byproduct. It's not something you chase. It's something that emerges as you remove what no longer serves you and nurture what does. Life doesn't necessarily become easier, but it becomes more understandable and more aligned with who you truly are. This is the quiet power of focusing on yourself, a life lived with clear purpose, steady growth, and inner peace, in a world that constantly demands noise, whether through social media, conversations, or external validation. Choosing silence can feel counterintuitive. Yet it is within silence that inner strength is born. When you remove the pressure to respond, explain, or prove yourself, you begin to access a deep well of resilience that doesn't depend on external circumstances. Silence isn't about withdrawal or weakness. It is a deliberate choice to be still, to observe, and to respond from a place of power rather than impulse. In that stillness, a person gains clarity, self-possession, and emotional control that cannot be shaken by the chaos of the outside world. Silence teaches you to be present. When you're not constantly speaking, reacting, or filling every moment with sound, you begin to hear what's going on inside your own mind. This awareness allows you to witness your thoughts and emotions without being ruled by them. In silence, you learn to sit with discomfort instead of distracting yourself from it. That willingness to face what's inside without flinching is what builds strength. You begin to realize that emotions come and go, that thoughts aren't always facts, and that you have the ability to choose your response to life rather than being at its mercy. The practice of silence also helps you conserve energy. Speaking out of habit or reacting to every situation consumes mental and emotional resources. But when you choose silence, you conserve your energy for what truly matters. You stop wasting time trying to be understood by people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You no longer feel the need to argue or prove your worth, because you know that your value is not up for debate. That kind of restraint is a mark of strength. It shows maturity, discipline, and confidence. It's a quiet declaration that your peace is more valuable than being right or being heard. When you stay silent, you begin to observe others more clearly as well. Instead of reacting to their words, you start to notice their patterns, their insecurities, their motives. This insight gives you an advantage, not to manipulate, but to better navigate relationships and situations. You begin to understand that most noise from others is rooted in fear, ego, or confusion. By remaining quiet, you don't get pulled into that turbulence. You stay anchored, and that anchoring builds inner stability. People may underestimate you, misunderstand you, or misjudge your silence, but it doesn't matter, because the strength you're building is internal, not performative. There's also a power in not revealing everything. Silence allows you to protect your thoughts, your plans, and your boundaries. Not everything needs to be shared. When you learn to keep your intentions to yourself, you protect your energy from outside opinions, doubts, or distraction. You become more intentional with your words and more deliberate with your actions. This kind of discretion isn't about secrecy, it's about self-respect. You recognize that your growth doesn't need an audience, and that real power often moves in silence. Practicing silence can also deepen your intuition. When the noise quiets, your inner voice becomes louder. You begin to trust yourself more, to recognize when something feels right or wrong, and to make decisions with more certainty. This inner knowing doesn't come from books or advice. It comes from paying attention to yourself in stillness. The more you listen, the more you learn to trust your inner guidance. That trust becomes a pillar of inner strength that remains steady even when life feels uncertain. Silence can be uncomfortable at first, especially in a culture that glorifies constant expression. But over time, it becomes a source of comfort and refuge. It becomes a tool for renewal, a way to return to yourself when the world gets too loud. In silence, you find your center. You let go of the need to react and instead learn to respond with thoughtfulness and purpose. You begin to understand that strength is not always loud or aggressive. Sometimes it is soft, steady, and unshakable. Choosing silence is not about suppressing your voice, it's about mastering it. It's about knowing when to speak and when to hold your peace. That balance is a sign of true strength. The person who can remain calm in the face of provocation, who can walk away without explanation, who can let their growth speak for itself, that person is powerful beyond measure, and that power doesn't come from the outside. It is built moment by moment in silence. Where you place your attention is where your life begins to take shape. Every thought, choice, and action is influenced by the focus you maintain. When your mind is scattered, jumping between worries, distractions, and the noise of the world, your energy becomes diluted. But when you deliberately choose where to direct your attention, everything begins to align more clearly. This simple principle, energy flows where attention goes, reminds us that the quality of our life is largely determined by what we consistently focus on. If your attention is on problems, fear, or negativity, those elements expand in your experience. But if you focus on growth, solutions, gratitude, or discipline, those areas begin to flourish. The mind is incredibly powerful. It creates meaning, drives behavior, and shapes your experience of reality. And yet, it's easily influenced by external forces. Social media, opinions, news, and comparisons. When you don't consciously control your attention, it defaults to survival mode, gravitating toward what feels urgent rather than what's truly important. That's why many people feel drained without understanding why. It's not always what they're doing that exhausts them, it's what they're thinking about. Mental energy, like physical energy, is finite. Every distraction comes with a cost. Focusing on the wrong things, past mistakes, imagined fears, other people's judgments, pulls your energy away from what could actually move your life forward. When you start to become more intentional about your focus, everything begins to shift. Your actions become more purposeful. You start to notice opportunities that were previously hidden by mental clutter. Challenges don't disappear, but your capacity to handle them increases because your energy is no longer scattered. This kind of mental discipline isn't about being rigid, it's about being clear. You decide what deserves your attention, and by doing so, you decide what deserves your energy. Whether it's your health, a relationship, a project, or your inner peace, consistent focus acts like sunlight through a magnifying glass. It intensifies your impact. Directing your attention doesn't mean ignoring problems or pretending life is perfect. It means choosing what you give the most weight to. You can acknowledge difficulties without obsessing over them. You can notice setbacks without letting them define your outlook. This ability to refocus your mind is a skill that gets stronger with practice. At first, you might find yourself constantly pulled back into negative thinking or distractions. That's normal. What matters is the choice to return your focus again and again to what actually serves your goals and your well-being. Your daily habits reveal where your attention goes. The way you spend your time, the content you consume, the conversations you entertain, all of it shapes your mental focus. If you fill your days with chaos, comparison, and meaningless noise, your energy will reflect that. But if you surround yourself with clarity, discipline, and inspiration, your energy will begin to align with those values. This isn't about perfection, it's about awareness. Small, consistent shifts in attention toward things that matter can completely change the direction of your life. This principle also applies to your internal dialogue. The way you speak to yourself determines how you feel and what you believe is possible. If your inner attention is filled with self, doubt, criticism, and fear, you'll hesitate, shrink, or sabotage your progress. But if you shift your attention towards self-belief, encouragement, and vision, your actions will reflect that confidence. Over time, this creates momentum. What you think about consistently begins to take root, shaping your choices and your reality. Choosing where to place your attention also helps you stay present. When your focus is scattered across regrets from the past or worries about the future, you lose power in the moment. But when you bring your attention fully into what you're doing right now, your energy becomes grounded. You become more efficient, more aware, and more fulfilled. This presence allows you to access flow, that state where time disappears and your best work emerges. The more often you can enter that state, the more your potential begins to unfold. Ultimately, your attention is one of your greatest assets. You don't need to chase everything or fix every problem at once. You simply need to choose again and again where to place your focus. Energy is not limitless, but it is powerful when directed with purpose. By learning to control your attention, you learn to control your energy. And when your energy is aligned with your intentions, everything in your life begins to respond. The outer world mirrors the clarity and commitment of your inner world. What you focus on grows. Where your attention goes, your life follows. In a fast-paced world where constant movement is often mistaken for progress, stillness can seem like inaction. Yet it is in stillness that true stability is found. When you slow down, pause, and resist the urge to react to everything around you, you begin to create a space within yourself that is calm and steady. This space becomes a foundation, allowing you to move through life with more purpose, more clarity, and more resilience. Stillness is not the absence of activity, it is the presence of intention. It is the ability to stay grounded, centered, and composed no matter what is happening outside of you. Stability doesn't come from control. It doesn't come from having all the answers or predicting every outcome. It comes from developing a steady internal state that doesn't depend on external circumstances. When you embrace stillness, you stop rushing to fix everything, explain yourself, or chase validation. You begin to trust that not everything needs a reaction and not everything needs to be forced. That trust grows into confidence, not the loud attention seeking kind, but a quiet, self-assured presence that others can feel. It comes from knowing that you are anchored within and that your peace is not easily shaken. In stillness, you become more aware. You start to notice patterns both in yourself and in the world around you. You begin to see what triggers you, what drains you, what lifts you. This awareness allows you to respond instead of react. You don't waste energy on things that don't align with your values. You learn to pause before speaking, to breathe before deciding, to reflect before acting. These pauses might seem small, but they are powerful. They are the moments where you reclaim your power and stay rooted in your truth. Over time, this practice creates emotional stability. You're not at the mercy of moods, opinions, or external noise. You stand firm in who you are. Stillness also allows space for healing. When you're constantly moving, there's no time to process your emotions, no time to reflect, and no time to truly rest. But when you give yourself permission to be still, the layers start to unfold. You begin to hear the quiet parts of yourself that are usually drowned out. Grief, fear, anger, and confusion rise to the surface, not to overwhelm you, but to be seen, understood, and released. This process isn't easy, but it's necessary. Because on the other side of that emotional honesty is stability, the kind that comes from having faced yourself and survived. Choosing stillness doesn't mean avoiding life. It means approaching life with a steady mind and a calm heart. You're still taking action, but it's deliberate, not frantic. You're still pursuing goals, but you're not consumed by urgency. This balance creates a sustainable rhythm. It keeps you from burning out, from chasing things that don't fulfill you, or from making decisions out of fear. With stillness, you're not led by panic, pressure, or impulse. You're led by awareness and grounded intention. There's also a quiet confidence that begins to grow when you spend time in stillness. You stop needing to announce every move or explain every decision. You no longer feel the urge to prove yourself. Instead, you let your presence speak for itself. Others may not understand this shift. They may mistake your calm for passivity or your quiet for weakness. But that doesn't matter because you know the strength it takes to remain still in a world that never stops moving. You've learned that real power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, and it's in that whisper that you find stability. Stillness is also the foundation of wisdom. When you stop to listen, not just to others but to yourself, you begin to make better decisions. You stop reacting from emotion and start acting from clarity. You begin to sense when something is off, even if it looks perfect on the surface. You can feel when something aligns with your values, even if others disagree. This intuition, this deep inner knowing, comes from being still long enough to actually hear yourself. In the end, stillness doesn't take you away from life. It brings you deeper into it. It allows you to experience the moment fully without distraction or distortion. And from that depth comes a kind of stability that can't be shaken by circumstances. It's built from within. It grows quietly, steadily, and deeply, and once it's there, it becomes your anchor. Stillness attracts stability because it brings you back to your center, and from that center you can face anything.